Episode 293. A different approach to UFOs. Hello and welcome again. Thank you for listening. Hope you're all doing okay and everything's going fine. I've started a bit of a series of a sub-series, shall we say, in my podcasts. And the premise is it's quite simple in a way. It's a different approach to. Okay, so basically it could be a lot of topics that I'm sort of interested in or that I've spoke about in the past. And, you know, I wanted to revisit them in some ways because it came out of COVID, actually. I did wonder a different approach to COVID. And I did wonder, you know, if there's a different way of doing things. I'm not saying it's necessarily a better way or that it's, you know, whatever. But in terms of COVID, I just felt that you seem to punish millions of people, you know, for a relatively, you know, small number of infections. Then again, I don't want nothing to be done, if you know what I mean. You know, we should do something. I just wonder if a different approach, you know, might work better. So that was that episode 292 is about COVID. So today's episode is about UFOs, and it's a subject I find very interesting. So when I talk about UFOs, I mean, they can be flying. I mean, I think you can probably get them in the sea as well. There's also the phrase, is it UAOs, unidentified airborne objects as well. I think there's all sorts of connotations when you say UFO, and if you're involved in the military or science, I think you try and avoid saying UFO because people think of aliens. So I'm going to do a different approach to aliens. That's in a future episode. But I'm just really talking about objects, phenomena, whatever you'd like to call it, that are unidentified. I'd primarily be looking at things that fly, but it could also be connected to the sea as well. We don't really do much underwater, but there have been cases where objects have come out of the water, and there's been witnesses to that. So I don't want to just restrict it to flying around the place. So avoiding the subject about aliens. I don't want us to get too bogged down in that because we can get bogged down in that in another episode. But there's been many, many, many cases of objects being seen by pilots, commercial military pilots. I believe some astronauts as well on some of the STS missions have reported seeing certain things. There's some interesting phenomena that goes on with astronauts that once they're out of protection of the atmosphere, you can get, I think they're like little electrical pulses that fly around the place. I don't know if they're coming from the sun, whatever, and they pass through the human body. Now, you're normally protected from these, I think, by the atmosphere and the magnetic field of the Earth. But once you go beyond that, as these little things of energy go through you can't actually see them, I don't believe, but your retina is very sensitive to these pulses, and they see these little flashes around the place. There is I don't know if there's a YouTube video of it, but there was a case of an astronaut who was doing a spacewalk, and it was somewhere on the arm of the space shuttle, I think, and the space shuttle doors were open, you know, and he said, "Oh, it's like someone's taking photographs." It was like paparazzi. He thought he was being photographed, you know. And like, you know, the problem with the feed is delayed. I don't believe it's completely live, but I think NASA had a little word with them about that and said, you know, don't worry about. Maybe they should have been told beforehand. You know, some of the phenomena that you get when you're in space, you know, that might be a bit of a shock. But you know, and I know astronauts have seen things. They've seen objects, you know, they've seen stuff coming away from the Earth. It's hard to know if it's controlled or not, if there's someone flying it, or if it's just an object, you know, that's, you know, around thunderstorms, you seem to get a lot of these, whatever they are, charged particles and whatever. So I think we do need a different approach to UFOs and unidentified objects, aerial objects, in the sense of we should take away the stigma of it, I think. I think a lot of people aren't inclined, especially pilots and people like that, they're not always that inclined to report these things, unless they're forced to for official reasons, or maybe they're worried it'll harm their career. And over time, you know, they might actually feel that their aircraft is in danger, Now, I do appreciate when you look at the military and the Air Force. I think the Navy investigates the UFOs in the US, but they're wary that it's the Russians or it's the opposition, and that seems to be their only focus. If they discount it, it's not the Russians, not the Chinese or the Iranians. They don't seem to be bothered then, it can be little green men, they don't care. And I think that's wrong in some ways. It also inhibits, how much information they release to the public. Obviously, they don't want the Chinese to know if they've spotted them, flying this unbelievable craft. But to be honest, has that really ever happened? Have the Russians, if they have an unbelievably fast, vehicle that the Americans couldn't believe that's whizzing around their air bases, we should all want to know about that. Shouldn't it be great information, wouldn't it? And it truly would be like something from outer space, wouldn't it? Some technology. So for me, the approach around UFOs in general should be something like a dash cam in a car. I know Tesla now, the Model S I've been driving quite a bit. There's loads of cameras on it, there's loads of sensors. And now you can look at these cameras as you're driving along or when you're parking. You can see different angles around the car, and I think that's fantastic. I think BMW have it as an option where you can have these cameras all around the car. So my feeling is we should have the same technology on planes, whether they're commercial or military planes. The same technology should be on spacecraft, whether it's during the launch phase, the landing phase. We should be getting a 360-degree view around the vehicle. Storage is very cheap. It can be reused. Cameras now are ridiculously cheap. I don't want to see a blotchy IR image from a fighter jet from 16 years ago. I want to see a 4K full color image. I want to see a sharp image of what was that object. I know you can sometimes see something, you glance at something, and you think there's something there when there isn't, or you misinterpret something. Get a camera on it. Let's have a camera pointing there, and then if it's there, we can see that, I mean, this isn't rocket science. The technology is there. I know they have fitted some cameras to planes now. I don't know what the situation is with military jets. But you know what? We put a black box in there. Well, actually, two black boxes. Let's have cameras as well, And the next time there's a near miss or there's an event with a UFO or somebody sees a strange light, let's look at the footage. Let's have a look at that, and let's do this in a mature, adult manner. Let's nobody be intimidated about, oh my God, it's little green men whizzing around. Let's investigate this. So, I think from my experience of looking at some of the reports that you do see from commercial pilots, they're not really investigated to any extent, and that's it, But I suppose without a secondary source, when you maybe only have one of the pilots has seen it, or maybe two pilots, but, it's hard to anybody to investigate this. I mean, that's why we have flight recorders, the black boxes, on planes. I think they should have cameras now. We should have a 360-degree bubble around these craft, like cars. Cars are getting there now, like I say, the Tesla and BMW. Eventually, you have an accident or something happens in the car, and you've got footage of that. You can see who, where, what, and when, And, it's not ridiculously expensive. Storage isn't expensive. Cameras are dirt cheap. Compared to the cost of the aircraft, it's nothing, And I think this should be something that probably you'd have to, I suppose it'd have to be the rules almost to do that. And, if you just want to say, well, it's for when there's near misses, that's fine. But this sort of technology should be used now today on all these vehicles, on ships at sea, anything like that, I think they should be fitted 360-degree cameras, high-quality footage. And you know what? Maybe it can be recycled every so often. There's no need to store it in the cloud necessarily. Maybe for a short period, 30 days or a month, And then when something happens, you've got a record. I mean, it's a dash cam, isn't it? That's all we're really talking about. A camera where you can see and to give you the 360-degree coverage. So anyhow, if I can say it. So anyhow, that's my a different approach to UFOs. I don't want to see a cigar-shaped blodge, a little whatever. I don't want to see that, I want to see a 4K image, that's in high FPS, high frame rate, can be slowed down, can be, frozen, blown up, whatever, that catches the detail. And then I think we can be mature and serious about there is definitely a UFO phenomenon, but it'll remain mysterious and unknown unless we approach this in a mature and adult manner,